All right, so we are discussing water uptake by plants, how water is being absorbed by plants from the roots to the leaves of plants. Now, throughout history, many people have been wondering how this happens, particularly when water is absorbed from the roots of very tall trees to heights that are even higher than 100 meters. How is that possible? So many people have been wondering. So we are going to look at certain factors that are responsible for this to happen. There are some factors that are responsible for the ability of these plants to absorb water from the roots to the heights of very tall trees. No matter how tall or no matter how short the tree is, water is able to be pulled. And you've mentioned that the means through which water is being transported up is through the xylem tissues, which are vascular tissues in the plant. The xylem is responsible for the transportation of water from the roots to the leaves. The xylem is responsible for the transportation of water from the roots to the leaves. And the water exits through the stomata. So the water is used for photosynthesis, but some of it is lost through the stomata. So the water that's been absorbed through the xylem can be transported even up to 100 meters high. And that is possible because of the pooling that's caused by transpiration. Like when you suck water from a hose that is inserted into a jerry can containing water, that force that you apply by sucking is compared to the pooling action from transpiration that occurs in the stomata. Okay, so it helps to drag the water. As the water is expelled through the stomata of the leaves, it pulls the water from the water that's underneath, that is in the stem, and in turn from the roots upwards. And one other factor that is responsible, that makes this possible, is because of the fact that water molecules stick together. Just as you have two friends that are holding each other tight, okay, when you drag one of them, you drag the other. So the cohesive forces of the water molecules is also responsible. And the water molecules are also adhesive to the walls of the xylem vessels. The water molecules are also adhesive to the walls of the xylem vessels. So the cohesive nature of the water molecules and their adhesion to the walls of the xylem vessels also makes it possible for the pulling action of the transpiration to pull the water upwards, because the water molecules stick together. If they are not sticking together, they only the ones that are pulled would have gone, but they are able to stick together. So that is also very vital for water to move from the roots to the leaves of the plants where they are being utilized. So here is a diagram that is showing how water and minerals are moved upward from the roots to the leaves. Down here, you see the root hairs. Now, absorption of the water molecules takes place in the root hairs, and the water molecules diffuse into the root hairs. Okay, they enter the root hairs through diffusion. And as they diffuse into the root hairs, you see the water molecules. You see oxygen and hydrogen. A molecule of hydrogen and oxygen bound to two molecules of hydrogen. Okay, so the water molecules are pulled upward, like I said before, as a result of transpiration that occurs in the stomata of the leaves. The water molecules are pulled upwards as a result of transpiration. As transpiration occurs, as the water escapes through the leaves, it pulls the water that's downwards upwards. And this is also made possible through cohesion. Water molecules are cohesive to each other. They are able to stick together. And because water molecules stick together, when you drag one up, the other one drags others upwards. So the cohesive forces of water facilitates the movement of water upwards. Also facilitates the movement of water upwards. Then the adhesive nature of water to the walls of the xylem tissues also facilitates the movement of water through the stem, the roots to the stem, and up to the leaves. Then water is also translocated downwards through phloem vessels. Sorry, the manufactured food particles are translocated downwards through the phloem vessels. Okay, so minerals and water move upwards. One, through the pulling action of transpiration that occurs in the leaves. Then two, through the cohesive forces, as a result of the cohesive forces that exist between water molecules, and the cohesion of water molecules to the walls of the xylem tissues. Those are responsible for the movement of water from the roots to the top of a tall tree. So it's no magic. It is not a magic. This is made possible because of these three factors. So the movement of water at the cellular level also plays a very significant role in bulk water transport in the plant as well. The movement of water in the cellular levels. Although water can diffuse through plasma membrane, charged ions and organic compounds, including sucrose, depend on protein transport. So protein transport is also responsible. Protein transport in the cells is also responsible for transport for the movement of water. ATP-dependent hydrogen ion pumps often fuel active transport. They create hydrogen ion gradient across right. So we are looking at another factor that's responsible too for the movement of water. That's the movement of water is also enhanced by certain factors in the cell that play some roles. And one of them is the diffusion through the plasma membrane, the diffusion through the plasma membrane. Then ATP-dependent hydrogen ion pumps are also responsible for the active transport of water. They're also responsible for active transport of water. They create hydrogen ion gradient across a membrane. Now, this hydrogen ion gradient can be used in a variety of ways, including sucrose transport. Having discussed that, we want to look at water mineral transport routes in cells. Water and mineral transport routes in plant cells. Water and minerals can pass through three pathways to the vascular tissue of the root. That is, as it gets to the plant, the root hairs, it passes through 3 transport routes to the vascular tissues of the root. The vascular tissue means the xylem. And they include the apoplast, the symplast, and the transmembrane roots. The apoplast, the symplast, and the transmembrane roots. Now, what is the apoplast root? The apoplast root includes movement through the cell walls and the space between cells. The apoplast roots include movement through the cell walls and the space between cells. Transport through the apoplast avoid membrane transport. So in the apoplast root, the water moves through the cell walls and between spaces of the cell. The apoplast root, water moves through the cell wall and the space between cells. The next transport route is the symplast route. The symplast route is the continuum of the cytoplasm between cells connected by plasmodesmata without crossing the plasma membrane. That is, it is the continuum of the cytoplasm. The water passes through the cytoplasm of the cell, but it doesn't pass through the it passes through the cytoplasm between cells connected by the plasmodesmata. So the water passes through the plasmodesmata, the openings between plant cells. Between each plant cell that are connected together, there is an opening called the plasmodesmata.